Hello everybody, it's your boy Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming here today, and we're in Game Awards season. It's the end of the year! It's drawing to a close. A bunch of great games have come out this year, and as always, I feel like it's an important time to take a step back and look on the industry as a whole, and what lessons or things we can glean out of it from this year. And for me, I think the thing that has really been driven home for me, not like I haven't known this for a bit now, but the thing I feel like this year has been really emphasized by, is that people like different things. I think one of the most beautiful aspects of video games is just how diverse they can be in terms of genre, playstyle, control input, aesthetic, feel, story, etc. And we come to the end of the year, and naturally we like to rank things and discuss which is best. And honestly, I don't know if you can when it comes to video games. I've talked about this a little bit before, but I want to talk about it in the context of 2022 itself. So, let's take a look at the Game Awards list for Game of the Year, link in the description down below. We have A Plague Tale, Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War, Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. All of these games, when you look at them, are wildly different to one another. A Plague Tale Requiem tells the story of a brother and sister navigating France, I think, that's filled with the plague and man-eating rats. It's slower, more atmospheric, and story-driven. At least its previous entry was. Not gonna lie to you, I haven't really looked into A Plague Tale Requiem all that much, but the first game looked interesting enough. Elden Ring is a giant, hands-off open world with Souls-like combat that's a very gameplay-focused experience where the narrative comes from exploring the world and reading item descriptions to piece the parts of a grand puzzle together while overcoming immense challenges, using any combination of weapons, armor, tactics, and spellcraft at your disposal. God of War Ragnarok tells the story of a former God of War, get it? Who has tried to escape his past life while protecting his son Atreus, but is thrust once more into the affairs of the divine, and might have to avert Ragnarok now. Not gonna lie, you haven't gotten that far enough in the game yet. Variable difficulty modes allow you to change how you tackle this action RPG, as you fight various Nordic challenges and boss fights as you traverse the various realms of Norse mythology. Horizon Forbidden West has you playing as Aloy. One more time as you venture off to the Forbidden West, get it? You use an in-depth ranged gameplay style focused on bows, with different arrows and traps to overcome mechanical and human enemies in a world that once had grand technologically advanced civilization that has given way to nature over time. Stray is a game about playing as a cat. I could honestly end the description right there. It's kind of straightforward. Oh yeah, and there are robots everywhere as you traverse this neon-lit dystopia solving puzzles as a cat, with a handy little robot companion. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has you playing as the Ouroboros Squadron, a team composing of two groups of three, from warring factions who must put their differences aside to take up the mantle of Ouroboros and break the world from a perpetual cycle of death and war. It's a JRPG where each character can play different classes as you swap between them, to enable different synergies to overcome various challenges as you pursue the main story or side quests. I honestly believe that this year was quite stacked with great game releases, as each of these games I just mentioned have something different to offer, which might play into the whole narrative that's been going around about how this has been a bad year for games. It honestly hasn't, but it's been a great year for different types of games. So if you're only focused on one genre, then you might not have all that much for you. No two games are the same, and they appeal to different types of players, at least on this list for Game of the Year. And honestly, that's one of the things that I love about games. They don't need to appeal to everyone to find an audience. Personally, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is my favorite game on the list, but I know many people will say Elden Ring or God of War, any of the other titles for themselves. And sure, most people will probably end up picking Elden Ring or God of War. But still, that variety is what I find so fascinating about the games industry, about video game consumption in general. So many different experiences. Someone's favorite game may have come out this year and didn't make the list for nominees for Game of the Year, and that's fine. Think of all the multi-platform ports we got this year. with Persona 5 Royal. Sure, many people will write them off as a port, but more people are going to be able to play those games now. I feel like too often our default is to go to full sports rivalry and say that my game is better than yours, where I feel there is so much more room for brilliant discussion by setting aside the competitive nature for a second and focusing on what makes these games tick. Who do they appeal to? Why do they appeal to them? Stray may not be a game for me, but for someone else, they may absolutely adore the game, and I'd love to hear why. Because I love the fact that games like Stray exist, where they may not even remotely appeal to me, outside of the fact that it's a cute cat. But to others, they may have been waiting for a game just like this to come out, and they finally got a game that felt designed for them, and I'm happy for them. Because to me, this time of year is always a good time to take a step back and to appreciate what video games can really do, how wide of an audience that they can appeal to, and all the great experiences that have come out. It's so easy to get bogged down in the bad and the pessimism of the modern games industry, and I honestly get that, because I do sometimes. I wanted Halo Infinite to be way better than it is. I used to love World of Warcraft, and my love for that game has slowly faded with the design choices that Blizzard have made. Dragonflight may be a return to form, but I want to see a little bit more. And like I said, it's so easy to get bogged down in that pessimism and the bad, when you see your favorite game franchises of yesteryear just not be what they used to be. It's not just a matter of, hey, you grew up, or hey, times change. It's the conscious design choices that you fundamentally disagree with. And there's a lot of that out there. I understand that. It can be very easy to give into pessimism. But sometimes it's important to take stock of what we have gained. While yes, some of that pessimism, a lot of it honestly, is warranted, and critique is very valuable, and I will always defend video game critique. But it's important to understand what we have gained, the great games that have released, and the memories that have been formed because of them. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is one of my top 10 games of all time, and it came out only a few months ago. How cool is that? Really, when you think about it, how cool is that one of my top 10 games of all time came out this year? 'Cause to me, it's one of the signs that the industry is alive and well. I made a video a bit ago about how I don't believe that gaming is dying, despite the fact I see that narrative creep up time and time again. There are still so many phenomenal and amazing games coming out, and that are also coming out in the near future, or even in the distant future, and it's easy to get bogged down in that pessimism, but the good that is there is worth celebrating. Will Xenoblade Chronicles 3 win Game of the Year at the Game Awards? Probably not. Will it win some Game of the Years from some outlets? Probably. It won mine. Unless God of War Ragnarok just absolutely blows me away, which to be fair kind of is right now. But to me, it's Game of the Year. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is my Game of the Year right now. And to you it might be as well. Or your Game of the Year might be Elden Ring. Or it might be God of War Ragnarok. Or Stray. Or Horizon Forbidden West. Or Plague's Tale Requiem. Or any other game that came out this year. Because that's the beauty of it all. We get so bogged down in this game versus that, and ratings and rankings and all that we don't see it for the bigger picture. Your enjoyment, the engagement that you get out of something is entirely subjective. People like different things, and that's cool. It really is. I know that's a saying that's been used a lot on the internet, but really, I think that's one of the best aspects of media in general, and especially for video games, because I like talking about video games and I focus on video games here. But for video games especially, I think that's one of the best aspects. Because I'm glad that there isn't an objective reality when it comes to interesting video game experiences. Because I feel that if there was, it would be rather dull. Like, sure, you can look at an options menu and say, this game objectively has more options than this game. Or say, hey, the options menu for this game is lacking compared to what is out there already. Hey, this game runs on a very low FOV. This game doesn't. Hey, this game caps the frame rate. Etc, etc, etc. But your enjoyment, the engagement that you get out of that product, that is subjective. And honestly, maybe I've beaten around the bush a little bit on the channel when it comes to this, but honestly, I've got no need for mindless pessimism, or for the takes that gaming is dying, or whatever. Because honestly, gaming is alive and well, and a plethora of great and different experiences and games are always coming out, because the passion is still there, and I can either get bogged down in that negativity and pessimism, or I can embrace the good that is there and prop that up. I would rather have fun in a game, I would rather go into a new game and look for things that I enjoy rather than look for things to critique. Because if I go into a game expecting bad, I will come out of it propping up that bad. But if I go into a game expecting good, wanting to see all the little design choices in there that I like, I'll be more receptive to them. I love the fact that games that someone else may love may be completely off-putting to me, and that the games that I love may be off-putting to someone else. That variety is what makes video games so interesting. It's what makes media in general so interesting. So many different styles of play, so many different stories with different ways to convey that story to the player. Player choice, ways that the player can interact with the world, the story, the gameplay, create their own memories. Some may prefer Elden Ring's style of open-ended narration, where you slowly piece the pieces of the puzzle together as you explore the world, and some may prefer a more cinematic experience, like a God of War or Xenoblade. And there's some still that may prefer that cinematic experience, but prefer the gameplay of God of War or Xenoblade. There's layers upon layers upon layers of variety. And that's what makes gaming so special, that interactive element that allows for so many different types of experiences to exist. That variety is what makes gaming so special. And you can easily paint that competitive my game is better than your game mentality that springs up around awards season as a negative, but as I was literally making this video, I'm reminded how the fact that these debates even happen in the first place means that people care about the games that they play enough to at least debate that their game is the best, which means that the game resonated with them. Sometimes a different perspective is all you need to change your view on something, and one of the things that I try and get out there with some of my videos is how important it is to be willing to try new games and new experiences. It is so easy to seclude yourself into a couple of genres, or hell, even one style of game, and stay in that community and never branch out. But there is so much variety out there, so many different experiences, that you won't like all of them, because people like different things. But you may find something new to love, and that has value because it can open you up for a whole bunch of new experiences, things that you will come to love. And I feel like that is the lesson to get out of the games industry for the year 2022. Because sure, if you're a mono gamer where you like to focus on one specific type of game, maybe it wasn't the best kind of year for you in terms of games. But in terms of variety, in terms of different types of play styles, there's a ton of great games that came out this year. And because of that, I feel like it's a really good year to just take stock that people like different things. So I'm going to call the video there for the day. Leave a comment down below with your favorite game that has come out this year. Or do you think that hasn't even come out yet? I'd love to hear your thoughts and read your opinions. Please put them down in the comments down below. I'd love to read them and get some good discussion going as well. And while you're down there, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe with everybody. Have a great day. I'm going to go play some God of War. Bye-bye, everybody.